Under the sea, under the sea. Darling, it's better down where it's wetter. Take it from me. Hello and welcome to the next episode of Matt and Todd Go to the Movies with special guest Tim Davis. This is the podcast where all three of us went and saw a movie at our local Regal Cinema Theater. And now we're going to talk about it. After the movie, in the parking structure, in Matt Time the Pilot. We're going to talk about such things as, should you see this movie? Should you not see this movie? Should you bring the family? Should you bring a date? Should you go solo? Should you snack? Should you nap? Should you craft? I don't know. We're going to talk about all that stuff. Maybe none of it. We just swing for the fences, and sometimes they're not home runs. I am Todd Domer.
And I'm Matt Malloy. And Todd, I was really hoping that you were going to do the whole podcast in a Jamaican accent. That would have been fantastic.
We might have gotten some feedback that was not positive about that.
Yes, that's true. Probably not good to culturally appropriate things these days.
What?
Making me crazy.
Sounds fine.
Well, so yeah, we saw a movie. This movie is called Night Swim, a little creepy film about a swimming pool. So Tim, was there anyone of note in this film?
I would say the two lead actors are character actors more than anything. No household names yet. The lead guy was Wyatt Russell, who is Kurt Russell's son, and he's been in. He was on the Captain America Winter Soldier TV series in the MCU, playing the Captain America chosen by the government. And then he also was in 22 Jump Street. He was the guy Channing Tatum's character befriends in the fraternity. He's also been around a few other things. You mentioned, Todd.
Yeah. He's in the Monarch TV show with Godzilla right now, and he was in The Goon 2, which is a weird favorite of mine. Yes.
Up and coming, and then the lead actress.
Although it was Falcon and the Winter Soldier, not Captain
Sorry,
America.
you're right. Yes, sorry, right.
Come on.
And then Kerry Condon is the lead actress. I wouldn't say she's a household name either, but it appears she's mostly been on television shows over the years, as well as the movie that came out a couple years ago, The Banshees of Inisherin, which won a lot of awards, and apparently she won some Best Actress awards for that. And she was also the voice of Friday, which was the computer intelligence after Jarvis in the MCU. So that's probably the most she's known for, even though if you don't see her in that.
Right.
And that's it.
That's it. Well, what is Night Swim all about? It's about a spooky, haunted swimming pool. So we get a little prologue where someone gets kind of sucked into the swimming pool and disappears. Then we flash forward to present day, and we befriend a family, a mom, a dad, and two kids. The dad is a former Major League Baseball player who has some kind of illness.
MS.
Multiple sclerosis.
Onset MS,
yeah. And so he can't play, and they've kind of been moving around. They're trying to find their next house, and they stumble across the very same house with the swimming pool that we kind of saw somebody get taken into the dark depths by an unknown force. And so we kind of walk through life with this family as they're kind of getting adjusted to their life in this new house and the new jobs and new schools. And the dad's trying to do some rehab, some water activities. Water therapy, yes, thank you. And and then some weird things start happening with the pool. People start seeing things. People start feeling like something might be pulling them into the water. They're not sure what's real. And then things go from there. Kind of the pool kind of takes on a life of its own, and it has its ways of trying to get people into the water and maybe take them down. But the interesting thing about this movie is that there is some give and take. It's not just scary pool tries to capture people and kill them. There is like a mixture of trying to kill people, but also giving back and healing people who may be sick. And then, there's a piece of your soul that goes when you start to play these games. So yeah, and that's what the movie's about. I won't spoil anything further than I already have. And Todd, let's dive right into the deep end with your gut reaction of Night Swim.
Here we go. I thought this movie was not bad, not fantastic. Like, it's gonna get maybe a little bit above a middle of the road. To me, I thought it was a very interesting take on this kind of genre. You kind of think you're in store for like a straight up horror movie, and there are horror elements, but then there's also like a more detailed story going on, which was very interesting. I think the fact that there was an intriguing story kept me in the movie. Like, if there hadn't been that, then I might have slipped out and not recovered. Just because, like, at this point, because of Blumhouse or whatever, like,
yep.
we are in like a weird, in my opinion, renaissance of horror movies where,
yep.
like, all these smaller companies are making so many small budget horror movies that, like,
with different takes and interesting
angles. And some of them
yeah.
hit and some of them don't. Like,
right.
But the market is super saturated right now with these type of movies. So I was skeptical. Like, I didn't like not want to see it, but
right.
I was also like, oh, this looks pretty
Haunted pool.
Yeah, I was like, this looks pretty run of the mill. Like, is the Scooby Gang gonna show up and unmask someone? Like,
right.
But I mean, I'll give them credit. Like, it's a very much more intriguing story than I ever thought was gonna come out of that. And I almost wish, like, I think more one of my biggest dislikes of the movie is that I wish it had gone further into the story. Like, dive further into it and almost like I could see, like, depending on how well this movie does, I could see them doing like a Night Swim, the original, or like going back through all the other times that, like, something's happened with the family there, or like going all the way back to the beginning where, like, you found out that this area was on, like, a lake or whatever, and you could find the origins of the lake or what have you. So it's interesting. It's like, it's not just a straight horror movie, and I think that's what I appreciate about it. And the acting is not bad. I don't think anyone, like, was super horrible. Like, there were times where I was like, Wyatt, you were supposed to be this way in this scene, and it didn't really come across. Like, there's a point where he's, like, coming out of being, taken over by an entity, and it's more just like, the fact that his kids are in danger, and he's like, is everyone okay? Like, it just was a weird scene, and I was like, ooh, that didn't hit home with me. But, this movie's tight. Like, I like the fact, I mean, I don't know what you could have cut from this movie to make it any shorter or any more tight.
Right.
Like, we were out of the theater by 9, like, which is, for a 7:20 movie, is crazy. Like, so, it's got great things going for it. I wouldn't say it's a fantastic movie, but I think it's got good things. It's worth seeing if you're interested in this kind of genre. If you're looking for a suspenseful horror movie that's, like, equal parts horror and equal parts just suspense, like, and almost thriller, suspense, then, this is a movie that you should go see and support, because, that's how movies like this continue to be made, is by supporting it in the theater. And I think all three of us are big theater supporters. But honestly, if you don't do horror movies at all, and you're just like, I don't think so, or like, then this is a passable movie. Like, I couldn't say to the general audience, hey, go out and see this, it's just that good. Like, I don't care if you're not a horror fan. Like Barbarian, like I mentioned earlier, like, that was a movie where I was like, even if you're not a fan of horror, you should go see this movie. It's, like, very good, it's very interesting, and there's slight elements of that in this movie, but it wasn't a home run like that movie was. But I would say if you're on the fence about it, then go see it, make your own opinions, start your own podcast, but don't steal our subscribers. And it's gonna be me. I think I support this movie. I'm not sure if it's gonna get a super high rating, but I support it. Go see it. And that's it. Tim?
Yeah, I think I'm in the same camp as you, Todd. I went into this skeptical and came out pleasantly surprised. I have two. I'm not a big horror movie guy, but I like ones that are more like this, where they're thriller / suspense, and it's more supernatural maybe, or you're not sure what's going on, and it's not like a killer or a masked like something going on. It's more like, is it in your head or not? And it's just something about this clicked for me as well. And like you said, it was really the family story and about them, and we really spent time with this family. And it wasn't like they weren't caricatures. They weren't like they felt like real people. And I thought everybody acted pretty well. I agree with Wyatt had some shaky moments, but I actually thought the mom, Kerry, she played it really well. I thought she really came across as a concerned mother, and I thought she brought it in most of her scenes where she needed to. And I just it was creepy when it needed to be. It was also, it left just enough mystery where as the audience you're like, yeah, what is going on here? And you wanted to know, and it wasn't just like cheap scares or anything. It was it felt like everything, it earned every little music cut or weird vision or whatever you want to call like the various things that come along in the movie. And for something that was probably just pitched as, hey, there's a haunted pool, I thought they were able to get a movie out of it, and it worked for me. Like you said, it's not an amazing movie of the year kind of thing, but it's definitely better than just anything that you can go see these days. And like you said, it's nice to see people taking chances with movies and giving them some enough story depth to make it more than just the gimmick that it could have been. And yeah, I agree. It was well done, well shot. I thought they used water a lot, and and yet every time someone would get in the pool, it gave you that little bit of dread of like, oh, is something going to happen here? And even when it didn't always, like the dread was there enough to keep you kind of on the edge of your seat. And I thought that's hard to pull off and keep consistent throughout the movie. And also do it in a way where it didn't feel like characters were being dumb or like, are you not thinking here? Like it felt like every time somebody got near the pool, there was a reason, and you could believe why they would do that. And despite what was going on. So I give it points for that. And yeah, it was good. Matt?
Well,
horror movie guy?
Yeah, I do like horror movies. And this is borderline whether it's a horror movie or not. I do think it's a lot more suspense elements. You get a little bit of horror elements. You get some jump scares. You get a little bit of blood, but really no gore. Just sort
it's
of
not
natural.
A slasher.
Not a slasher at all.
Natural.
You get the bloated man. That's what you get.
You do get a bloated man. But I did enjoy this movie, and I came into it hopeful. I had heard there were some negative reviews around it, but overall, I did enjoy it, and I agree with much of what you guys said already. But I will say that something that makes this type of movie, when we're dealing with supernatural and we're dealing with horror elements, something that makes the movie good to me is when you have well-established rules to the universe.
Oh yeah.
And you are consistently following those rules. I mean, I feel like we learned about this pool. We learned about what happens in the pool and what doesn't happen in the pool, and they really stuck to that throughout the whole movie.
Right.
There was times where more things were revealed about what the pool could hold or how it could act or whether you could go into or get out of it in certain ways. But there was never any, but what about this? You did this before, and now
you're right, yeah.
Now the bloated man has superpowers. There was not that. It was very consistent. And something you said, Tim, I was also going to mention is that the characters were very relatable.
Yes.
There was not a time where you really said, oh, no one would ever really do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, no one would ever really dive in the pool, except if their kid was down there somewhere.
Right.
You would.
Yeah.
Or I think I see my cat and I don't want it to fall in the pool, so let me go try and rescue it and stuff like that. It's like stuff, and even though the characters at a point knew that something was off with this pool, it would still find ways for them to get to the pool. That isn't, like you said, that's not in a way where you're like, come on. Like, yeah.
Yes. The emotional hooks were well employed to draw characters to the edge of danger.
Yes.
And so, yeah, I really liked that. It was a short film,
Yeah.
but I felt like it was a little bit of a slow burn. And I know that they were doing that on purpose, but I got a little antsy at certain points where I was just like, okay, I get it. Let's get on with this a little bit. Not that it's too long. It's not. I just felt like there were some things that felt a little bit more drawn out than they needed to be for me.
I feel like this movie wanted to let scenes breathe.
Yeah.
Which is unusual in a short, quick horror movie like this. But yeah, I think that was a choice, and for me, it contributed to the dread because you're like, something hasn't happened in a while.
Yeah. What's going to happen?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think I would have sped up the beginning a little bit,
Yeah.
and then I would have let it linger in. Is there something wrong with this pool? A lot longer,
Right,
and
okay.
I would have, personally, I would have been like, as the healing properties start to be discovered and stuff like that. I would have had Wyatt Russell's character get farther along in like. He's actually getting callbacks to the majors, and he's like going to go out for a trap.
I see what you're saying.
Like,
Yeah.
I would have made it much more of a harder choice.
Yeah, I
Does
see
that
what you're
make
saying.
sense?
I see what you're saying. Yep.
And I think in general, like, this movie, like, I would compare this movie to like an Amityville horror, but
That's a
with a
good-
pool instead
that's
of
a
a
good
house,
call. Yeah,
or a
that's
Pet Cemetery, but with a pool and not a cemetery.
No, I know what you're saying though, but like where the gimmick is
Yeah, it's and if you know those movies, then I think you'll understand what I'm saying without
Yeah.
having to go further into it.
Yep. So, but yeah, I think overall I enjoyed myself, and I think that this movie is worth seeing, especially if you like sort of suspenseful and/or horror movies. I think it's a well-constructed exemplar of that genre, and so it's gonna be good marks from me. But we'll get into that in just a minute.
Oh, we're gonna get into it now.
Oh.
Yes.
How many smiley face quarters would you give this movie? Which will come into play if
Yes.
you see the movie.
Yep.
0 being the worst, because then you have no quarters and no smiley faces, and that's just sad. 5 being the best, because then you got 5 quarters, 5 smiley faces, and that's just a good time. You could go play one arcade machine for however long that'll last. So, Matt?
Well, like I said, I think this is a well-constructed movie of the genre, and I enjoyed. So I'm going to go with 3.3 smiley face quarters out of 5, and tell you to go see it if you don't mind a little bit of suspensefulness.
Nice. Tim?
Yeah, like I said, I think this. I'm not into horror, but this one worked well, and I do recommend that people see it. So that bumps it above the midway point for me. I landed right at a 2.7.
Yeah, I'm not too far off from either of you. I was actually I'm almost right in the middle. I'm at a 2.9. Like, I think it would have got a higher rating for me if the choice between getting better and the family was a little bit more like farther along, and
Yeah, I see what you're saying,
much
yeah.
more of a struggle to think about. Like, but that's just me, and I mean, it's definitely above average, and I do encourage people to see it, but if it's not your thing, then it's not like like I said, even for Barbarian, I was like, even if you don't like horror, I think you should see this movie because it was just that interesting and that good. This one, I don't know if I couldn't say the same thing, but support it, go see it if it's at all interesting to you, and you're like, oh, I wonder. If you're saying that, then go see it. Like, just do it.
Yep.
There you have it. All right. Last thoughts?
Definitely at the beginning of the movie, I thought to myself that and I said it out loud, but it was like a young Kurt Russell and a young Goldie Hawn together. Like I was like, I could see you guys. Like, why haven't you guys done Overboard? Like, or something like, why didn't he do the Overboard remake?
Yes.
Yes. Well, maybe that's coming, Todd. You never know.
One can hope.
Yes. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of Matt and Todd Go to the Movies, where we review the movie Night Swim, and we gave it an average rating of 2.96, 6 repeating.
Pretty good.
So that's just right there, a little below 3, and I think our consensus is, sure, why not? Have a look at this movie. It's fairly interesting.
Yep.
It could also be a nice introduction, because it doesn't go so hard into the paint of gore and horror and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, so if you're uneasy about seeing those kind of movies, and so you typically
It's very
stand
much
off of it,
acting.
like,
Yeah.
I was like, this might be a good gateway into you experiencing some of these newer, hybrid movies that have a little bit of horror, a little bit of stuff, a little bit, mixes of different genres.
Yeah.
Go out and live your life is what I'm trying to say. Don't
Yes.
go experience something.
Yes.
Some would say go to a museum or something like that. Not this guy. I say go to the movies.
Yep.
I say embrace joy in your life.
There you
wherever
go.
can find
That's it. That's it.
So,
Only if it's movies, though.
and embrace joy by downloading and subscribing to our podcast,
There it
which we love, and keep on listening. Thank you for you who are listening, because you're listening. So you did that. Thank you, and we will see you next time.
Da 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 da
Da da
da da da.
da da da.